Today, we want to welcome to the show a very special guest, Dida Clifton, who is the founder and owner of The Office Squad, as well as being a mother, a veteran, and a number of other remarkable and interesting things that we're going to hear about today. So, welcome to the show, Dida. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You bet, you bet. So, why don't we start with you telling us about this wonderful business that you have right now that you've been running for over 20 years. I think it might have been 23 years, and how you help people. Because as an entrepreneur, I know that the back office, they often call it, is instrumental to everything. When you have sales, you got to execute. Before you have sales, you need information, and your company provides all kinds of services, really beyond just accounting, which is what some people think of as back office. How's that sound?
That sounds good. I have a little different philosophy. I think that accounting and taxes and all that stuff goes in one bucket. And what we do is full charge bookkeeping. And that's something that happens every day. So in my mind, that's operations. I don't have an accounting background. We don't do any kind of taxes, tax planning, strategy. That's all another ball of wax. My time in the military, I learned how to herd fighter pilots and run operations of a fighter squadron, which taught me systems and procedures. And I just took a little bookkeeping business and went, oh my goodness, entrepreneurs needed a lot more than just bookkeeping. So we've created a place where they have everything they need in one location. It's a remote location. You can work with us remotely, but the Office Squad is not remote. They are all in one building, under one roof with a manager. There's bookkeepers, light accounting, which is end of month in my mind, administrative services, live phone answering, receiving the mail, all that stuff that you used to have to go out and buy and get and put together yourself. Well, now in our new hybrid world, you can have all of that somewhere else, and it costs less than one employee.
Well, that's a pretty impressive stat there. Do you find that customers that you have stay with you for a long time? I would think they would.
Yeah, I like to say that we're picky and we're sticky. So it took a long time to figure out what was a good fit and who understood what our mission was and how they fit into it. And then once they become a client, it takes us about 3 months before the light bulb comes on for everybody and things start clicking and the systems start working. But we have clients that have been with us on average 5 to 7 years. And I have a client that's been with me for almost 16 years. And then we have a couple that are 10 or 12 years. So it's once you have, just like in a normal office, once you have an employee that works out well, you want them to stay and you have longevity with that person. In our case, there's 13 people in our squad right now. So you have 13 people that are loyal and working for you.
You mentioned that you're not living at the business. You're, I guess, not working at it in the traditional sense every day. So that must have been an evolution to put together your own team that could handle all that so well for your customers.
Yeah, I think it's something that I picked up while in the military, because you can't be the only one doing whatever you're doing in the military. There's the backup normally. Even in the fighter pilot world, where I'm not a pilot, but I was in the system and I married one, so it's kind of everywhere. They have a wingman. They have a person normally that flies with them to help them accomplish what they're doing. So when I started this, I named it with my nickname, which is Dida, by the way. I, not E, whatever. And it was Dida's virtual assistance in bookkeeping. So that's like crazy. Little home business where I just did some QuickBooks stuff because I knew how to do it. And as it started evolving, I just made sure that there was always a backup for whomever was doing what. And when I decided that I wanted to start stepping away and being more of the visionary, I started training someone else to take over my stuff. And then a year, 2 years later, my husband walked in from his civilian job and said, I want to move to Texas. And I said, oh, I think we can do that. I can run it remotely and we can move to Texas. And we now live on an airport with the runway in the backyard, and he's a very happy camper.
Oh, wow, what a great story. And you mentioned, because we talked earlier, that you learned some lessons along the way, and that you are now on a new venture where you're just now going to go ahead and offer franchises for people that would like to take the lessons you learned the hard way and create their own business to, of course, support other businesses in the same way the Office Squad does. So, what were some of the lessons that you learned that 23 years later you wish? Well, we won't say that because you're in the right place where you are now, but it might have been easier if you'd learned them a little sooner.
Yeah, it's one of the things I tell, when people ask, what would I get from buying a franchise, other than, everybody wants to have a profitable business. You get to learn faster, better, and smarter than I did, because it took me 23 years to get here. With the franchise model, you'll do it in 1 or 2 years, So I started my little bookkeeping business from home, and I promptly joined the local Chamber of Commerce in Las Vegas. And then I sat back on my laurels and expected it to do the work for me. But you can't do that. You have to participate. You have to network. You have to get out of the house. You have to get out of the office and go do these networking events when you sign up for the chamber or BNI or whatever it is that you think your publicity is going to come from. It's not going to work for you. You must participate. I think that was the major thing.
And so, in the franchise models, obviously, you've had long-term customers. You have an operating business that's doing very well, 13 people plus yourself. And if someone wants to become a franchisee, do you offer support with your 13 people? How does that all work?
Well, the ultimate goal for your Office Squad franchise is for you to do exactly what I did, grow a squad that works without you. So that took me a long time to figure out how to hire the right person and train the right person and build the system so that that person knew what to do. And now it's all there. So the franchisee can start in the business. Maybe they're a bookkeeper or they can hire a bookkeeper. They go out and sell it and network it. And as it grows, they will become further and further away from the business, and they can do what I did. They can let the squad run and they can move to another state and do their own thing while that still writes them a paycheck.
So do you step out back and go on flights with your husband sometimes?
Sometimes, yes. We went to Waco last month and did the Magnolia thing, went to see where Chip and Joanne hang out. And next weekend we're going to Big Bend. But I technically don't like to fly. I mean, just to go out there and fly in circles and come back to the same place is kind of not my thing. If he's going to take me someplace fun, then I can do that.
Well, that sounds like, and the reason why I bring up that just sounds like a dream and the potential that you have when you become an entrepreneur. And if you
Yeah.
Succeed with one of these franchises, then whether it's a plane or hikes or the beach or the mountains, more time for that. And you're a mother too, so that's obviously incredibly important to
Yeah.
you. You have to balance work with motherhood, and the more you could build the business strategically, the more you could be, I guess, spend time with your kids, be attentive to your kids. Would you
Available.
say that's right?
Yes. When I first started out, they kind of went everywhere I went when they were little. My youngest, her first job was collecting business cards, which was kind of fun. Wherever we went, I'd go find a business card. She's now my CMO, and she helps run the office in Las Vegas. She's going to make me grandma in December. So having the ability to, work remotely as the CEO, I'm doing a franchise convention in Austin in November. So being able to do those things to grow the franchise side and still fly to Vegas when I need to, visit the daughter and maybe the granddaughter when she gets here. Those things were all kind of planned in my head. And I had a really good business coach I'll give you her number if you need it, who helped me stay focused on that goal to retire my husband. And before I knew it, we were actually there and we were moving. So she reminds me all the time when I think I'm not doing enough that, okay, look back. Here's what you've done. So make sure that when you are growing, that you look back and see what you have succeeded at and then plan for the next juncture.
Those are good positive words of wisdom. Yeah, I have to appreciate accomplishments we've had and challenges that we've overcome. What were some of the challenges that lessons learned, or one in particular that you think people would be interested in hearing about?
Oh, there are a lot. I think listening to the advice that people have as an entrepreneur and a business owner, I think sometimes we think we know it all. Even with the franchises, and I've done a couple of profit sharing things where I thought I could grow it with somebody that wanted to do what I did. They only listen for a little while and they go, oh, I can do this by myself. I didn't listen. I was very stubborn. And if I had just listened to the advice of those that had been there, done that, and paid attention, then I would have grown it faster. It would have happened with less
Yeah,
pain.
there's a certain dichotomy that isn't there, because you have to have the confidence to jump out there and go and do it and think you can do it. At the same time, when you listen, you certainly didn't listen to some people that probably told you couldn't do it or it was a dumb idea. So
Exactly.
those weren't the right people to listen to, but the people that are encouraging you with experience and advice, and in your way, because I'm sure some people may have given you advice that would have taken you away from your way, and your way is proven to be a good way. So,
Absolutely.
uh,
Um, I did tell someone the other day that the reason that the office squad is here is because someone told me you can't scale bookkeeping. And I just went, no, hold my beer. We're going to do that.
well, and I think you mentioned that we had another person on the podcast, Chris McKee, and he obviously scaled his business. So I think it is not a widespread thing, to be fair. And I
Yeah,
think it's a needed resource, because all the time people are looking for small business people I talk to. They're struggling with these issues of answering the phone, getting the accounting, how to get Excel or software, whatever the seemingly menial thing that's so
yeah.
important, but doesn't actually make them money, but they have to have it to generate the revenue and to get the clients. And
There's a piece I think that the office squad does that people call virtual assistants right now. You can hire a virtual assistant from anywhere, and they'll help you with, most of them have a niche. There's a marketing virtual assistant, there's a bookkeeping virtual assistant. And so to get all of them, you've got to get a whole bunch of virtual assistants. In our case, I call it admin. So anything that's not phone answering or bookkeeping falls into the admin category. No one really can put their finger on exactly what that is, but it's, do dispatch and scheduling, and we talk to customers and we talk to vendors on behalf of our clients. We make sure that the payroll taxes are out on time and the sales taxes are done, because I was so surprised at how many people put that aside until they get a letter. And until it yells loud enough, I'm busy, I'm not paying attention to it. So just the little things that kind of drop through that your squad can pay attention and pick up for you.
that process you take them through where, and I don't remember the exact acronym, but where you learn about their business, you decide whether it's the right fit, you educate them. So I'm sure that you also know what those little things are that can become big things. So you have a checklist. Hey, what about this, this, and that? And I'm sure you say, well, you hear all sorts of things and gotta get to that. That's been a problem. Someone was handling it, but she's on vacation, or she left for another job, or
Yeah, I used to hate that. I call it the Susie. I'm sorry, I can't help you because Susie's on vacation, or Susie's out this week, or Susie's sick. Well, my business doesn't stop because Susie is sick. So we do cross training at the squad. So if one person is out, another person in the bookkeeping department can fill that square. Might be a little bit slower than Susie would have been, but at least they know which direction to go and how to take care of you.
There you go. There you go. And when you were a kid, did you like administrative things and numbers or bookkeeping? Or I know the military gave you a lot of training, but
True. When I was a kid, I was a cashier at a grocery store was my first job. And I liked that. I liked pushing buttons and making the cash register work. And I distinctly remember the moment on TV when the news announced that they were going to have these little barcode things and we were going to scan for prices. And I remember telling myself, well, that'll never work. And that's how old I am. I used to check groceries with buttons. So QuickBooks is kind of something that I liked to do. I liked the bookkeeping part of it. Anyone can be a bookkeeper, by the way. There's no class, no certification, no license, no accountability, which was part of the reason that I decided we needed to fix that because I was getting clients that their books had been made a mess out of someone that knew QuickBooks, but they really didn't know accounting, bookkeeping, what's a debit, what's a credit. So as a kid, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, which is why I ended up in the Air Force. It was politely suggested by my father that I look into something that would give me a little discipline.
well, it must have worked because you sure have a lot of
It did, it worked. I hated the first 6 weeks, but it turned out to be a pretty good deal.
Yeah. 6 years? Is that right?
I was in for 6 years. I joined in the early 80s as a 19-year-old right out of high school. Was in for 6 years and met my husband who was in a different squadron. And I got out, we got married. And then I started following him around for 23 years, raised 2 daughters. And most of us entrepreneurs, we do not sit still. So I started a gift basket business. I started thrift shops wherever we went. I actually started a thrift shop in East Germany right after the wall went down. It's because those people didn't know how to do garage sales and thrift shops because everything had kind of been given to them, right? In the former Eastern Bloc. So the kindergarten that my daughter was going to needed some things. And I said, well, why don't we just open a thrift shop? And they had no idea what that was. So we did it. We bought furniture and toys and painted the joint, and it was awesome.
So you helped a lot of people. And then something happened around 2000 where you thought, what, did you start bookkeeping for people? Was that when you
That's
started?
kind of where I did. Yeah, started as a volunteer, ended up being the treasurer of the Wives Club and learned how to use QuickBooks. And then I started using it for my little businesses that I would do. And I started using it for home, keep track of where things at home got spent. And then when my husband got stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in 2001, put the kids in school and went, now what do I do? So that's when I started Dida's virtual assistants and bookkeeping in 2001. And I kind of listened to all the naysayers that you were talking about for a little while because I always liked this brand that connected the fighter pilot with the entrepreneur. And people would tell me that's ridiculous. My husband, the worst of all, because he was like, they don't understand, fighter pilots. And I'm like, yeah, they do. This is common. This is good. So in 2017, I just said, to heck with what everybody else thinks. I'm going to do it my way. I got a tattoo to make sure that I would remember that. And then we went all in with the Office Squad and the Flight Club, and it's done very well since then.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you had a lot of experience about the small business and the back office, the office. I don't know if it's back, it's office and front
It
and
is
back.
an office. Yeah, you can rent
Yeah.
a space. There's shared workspace. We even have a bar with a bell that we ring on 4:30 on Fridays, like the fighter pilot squadron.
And then you already had quite a bit of experience before you ever started it. By the time you started, you'd already essentially run a lot of offices. So that must have helped you as well. I mean, even if, the thrift shop's an office, that's a business.
Yeah, you don't think about it when you're doing it, but see, you got to look back.
Yeah, yeah. And then you started, of course, 23 years later, you're running a lot of offices for people. And are they saving money? Or are
Oh,
they getting a better
absolutely.
job? Or they're saving
Absolutely.
money and they're having a better job done?
Yeah, we have a gentleman in California that hired us, and we replaced a full charge bookkeeper and I believe a controller. And he's one of the largest monthly clients. It's about $6,000 a month, but that's still cheaper than a controller and a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
We have some clients that, like an air conditioning and heating company, that we answer the phones for them. We do dispatch for their techs. We do the schedule, help them with the schedule. And she just rented a space in the office to hang out in there instead of at home. So she has a friend that is her bookkeeper, that's been her bookkeeper forever. And, we don't overstep if we're not needed. There's plenty of other stuff for us to take care of. And when she needs it, we're there.
Well, I immediately liked the Office Squad and the whole fighter pilot. I mean, I think that you're right. People do get that because fighter pilots are obviously very accomplished people and they may have to take a lot of risk and they have these very precision planes and equipment. And there's an awful lot of people that have to keep that maintained and ready to go. And that requires a lot of precision and organization. And so I think I get that right away.
I used to say and I can still say it, they have big egos. So you have to make sure that whatever when you're working with an entrepreneur, that's a different personality, so you have to understand where their brain goes, what they need from you. And the Office Squad is trained to understand what's important to that business owner and how to make sure that we do that the way that they need it. Unlike maybe an employee that doesn't get it. They're just there for a job. We're not employees. We are your squad.
Talk about it for those that don't know what call sign and Dida and how that came about.
Oh, well, that's easy now that Top Gun is a big deal. So you think Maverick's real name is Maverick?
Right.
So in the military world, their nicknames are very common. And in the Air Force, for a pilot, they call it a call sign. And they actually use that call sign when they fly. And eventually it becomes just their name. There was a gentleman in our fighter squadron when I was there, and they called him Tony. And I, for years, thought his real name was Tony, but it wasn't. It just rolled off the tongue. It went with his last name. I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Well, thank you to you and your husband for your service.
Thank
I
you.
grew up outside Washington, D.C. and next door to an admiral and a lot of appreciation for the military. Most of my family, well, pretty much all my family, next generation, I've worked in one form of the government, military, foreign service at some point, or all of their careers. And I had a good family friend, older family friend, now retired, but he was a Blue Angel pilot. And so I'm familiar with the fighter pilot mentality from not, I mean, just one person that I knew well, but super achiever all the way along.
Yeah, they're different. I think being the spouse might have been a little harder than 6 years in the 80s, but because he was gone and off a lot. He went to Iran and Iraq when all that happened. So that's again how old we are. But it's a lifestyle, and it gets in your blood, and that it doesn't go away. I have a 84-year-old mother-in-law who was in the Army, and she's they were Army, and she still loves going on the base. She still loves seeing all of those friends. It doesn't go away. And that's the culture that I've built with the Office Squad, the loyalty and the time and service, and the people that work for me know that the military culture is part of the Office Squad culture. We hire for culture. There's a 90-day boot camp, and some people don't graduate. So it's a unique way to do things, and I like it. Goes well.
Well, and what a chance for someone that wants to come in as a potential franchise owner to get the benefit of all that. And if they wanted to reach out to you, theofficesquad.com is obviously one way. Is that, and there's schedule a call, there's contact us. What would you suggest?
There's a franchise button in the top right-hand corner, and you can check that. And then we also have a franchise at TheOfficeSquad franchise.com email that goes direct to me and the developers, if that's where you're going. If you're looking to be a client, just the contact us is great. Taylor, my daughter, will reach out to you. She's the CMO and she handles that stuff. And then if you would like to, if you're in Austin or around Austin, November 15th or 16th, I'm going to be at the franchise convention at the Renaissance Hotel. So come out and see me in person.
And this is not a regional business, so they can be in any state. Is that correct? Or certain
They can
states
be
won't
in
work in?
any state. Yeah, there are several states that require registration for franchises. So if it is a registration state, technically I'm not supposed to talk or advertise in those until I'm registered there. But you can let us know that you're interested and we can let you know if we've registered in it or not. Texas is a non-registration state. And since I'm here and I have access to Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston pretty easily, that's where my focus is going to be first, but anywhere else is fine as well. We have some interest in Florida, Illinois, Virginia. The only place I don't want to go is California. Too many rules.
Lots of rules in California, right? We hear that often. How about just clients? Would that be the same, or clients could be in any state?
Clients can be in any state. We have California, Florida. There's a lot of clients in Vegas because that's where we are, I think. But we can work with anybody anywhere remotely, bookkeeping, admin, and phones.
Because let's talk about that. Even in Vegas, I mean, I know that you could help them with office space as well, but if they're not looking for that, what would be the difference of being, I mean, are they pretty much remote even if they're in Vegas? Your support
Yeah,
services are
so
pretty
they
much
can
remote,
come in
so
and meet us if they want to. They can come meet their bookkeeper and have a meeting with them, around the conference table like a regular, job. You can bring your laptop and come in and sit, and hang out for a day or two, in the shared workspace. We're not like a WeWorks or a Regis. We're not a big piece of real estate with a lot of offices. There's only 7 offices in our large office in the Northwest. And I did that on purpose. It's actually for growth of the franchise. So when the franchise gets bigger, they can take over those offices and they won't need the sublease rent anymore. But in the beginning, I wanted the sublease so that helped pay the rent. And then as the office squad gets bigger, we will take over and there may not be any more spaces to rent.
so if you weren't in Las Vegas, of course, you could come visit, but you don't necessarily need to go and sit around the table these days. We're on a
Correct.
video call right now, and so much of it is going to be documentation back and forth where you're
Yeah.
providing records for them.
Just felt that a lot of people like the fact that their bookkeeper is someplace where they can go see them.
Absolutely.
We're insured. We have employee dishonesty insurance. We have E&O insurance, which is not required for bookkeepers. It's required for accountants, CPAs, and lawyers. But we carry it as well, just for the security of our clients.
I think all those are positives, even if you're a little ways away. I was thinking, but if you wanted a client in Texas, they could still do it without any hiccups, just as smoothly as being in Vegas.
Yep, piece of cake. And then when you get big enough, if you want a location, maybe I'll have a franchise nearby.
There you go. How about that? Yeah, so that's potentially you could be sending business to your new franchises as well. Um,
Yes. We have 2 locations in Las Vegas, one in the north and one in the south. So whenever someone calls and they're in the south, the southern office gets the business. So it would be the same way in the beginning for the franchises. Anything that comes through the main office would go to wherever the franchise is.
well, really fantastic. People know how to contact you. I'm sure people are going to like you right away, just like I did. We hadn't met before, a couple email exchanges, and fast friends, as they say. Is there anything else that you'd like to wrap up on, or did we hit the main things that you'd like to cover today?
I think we hit all the important spots and we gave information if anybody wants to know more. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you coming on Entrepreneurs, Business, and Finance. You certainly are all of those in business as an entrepreneur, helping in finance. So I know it's bookkeeping, but that's a part of finance. Can't do the finance if you don't have the books.
That's
Uh,
correct.
so thanks again. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.